Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze. I am your host, Professor Jeremy Vilmur. And joining us now, Arn Anderson's favorite enhancement talent, Double B, Bobby Blaze.
Hey, Professor, you sound great, man. I'm so glad to be back on the podcast. That 1 week threw me off.
Oh.
But listen, I'm telling you, Double B, Bobby Blaze. Double B, I can now see. Let me just say that, man. My eyesight, I got both the surgeries went very, very well, and I'm very pleased. I'm driving without my glasses, watching some TV without my glasses. It looks like go back in about 3 weeks. I went this past Thursday for a checkup. Go back in 3 weeks. Might get a pair of glasses that need for reading only, like my little bifocals, you know.
Yeah.
So real happy with that, man. But back to the show. Big shout out to Sparks Third Coast, man. He come in here with you last week and knocked it out of the park. I want to tell you guys, I really, really enjoyed the podcast, man. Spot on. I know you could have chosen several people, and we'll have some of those people in the future, but man, thank you, Sparks. That's really, really good. Jeremy, y'all had great conversation, and I enjoyed the whole podcast, man. So thanks for taking care of that. But with that said, damn, that week threw me off, man. Yeah. I'll come back and tell you why I was off for, but anyway.
I have noticed that anytime I miss an episode, it takes me about 2 or 3 weeks to remember the intro to the show again. I'm just off after that, yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say something like Melanie's back or something like that, but I got too many other serious things to talk about.
Yeah.
But the other thing I want to bring up, I want to thank Joe at the Art of Grappling, FTC, Art of Grappling. We went to see a live WWE event with several of the students and had a real good time, man. A solid card. I'll say this, the house shows are just so much better, man. They let them work, you know.
Yeah.
The first match was AJ Styles against that Theorem guy. I'm drawing a blank on his first name. Everyone out there say it, because if you watch it, you know who it is. Anyway, they went about 12 or 15 minutes and just rocked the place, and they had the best match of the card, you know. Ziggler come out second, and he had a hell of a good match. The last time I saw him was about 4 years ago, and Ziggler was in the opening match and did what AJ did, just tore it down. That's probably the second best match. You know, there's all talented athletes, though. Like I told the students, when I say students, these are just younger people, not out of high school now. You know, they're college age, and you know, some of them are 20s, and some have been to several events, and some had never even been to one before. And that's why I told them, I said, when you walk in here, this is actually an event, you know, because they put up Tron, whatever that thing is, and production. The guy that come out, and I don't know who it was, man. The emceed it was excellent. Seating was excellent. It's not really a bad seat in that building the way they put it out there. But anyway, big thanks to that. We had a good time. And, of course, during the road to Mania now, you know, started with the Rumble. And I did watch that last night. I enjoyed it. What I do remember of it, Jeremy, I'm not going to lie. I had a couple cocktails in me, but I did enjoy it. I think the ladies' Rumble was a little better than the guys' Rumble. But I popped the most for Ronda Rousey's back, and she won it. So it's her and Charlotte Flair at Mania. And I think that's pretty cool, man. You know, don't want to go into too much detail, but because you're a fan, people that watch it, I know a lot of our listeners don't. You know, usually I start about this time of year. I may not watch another show for 2 or 3 more weeks, you know, but I just kind of keep track of it because I do usually. Last year I didn't, but I usually watch, you know, WrestleMania.
Yeah.
That's my big, you know, that's their big event. That's the Super Bowl wrestling. And I haven't, you know, enjoyed many of those through the years. But anyway, I just put that out there for you, man. Because people think, well, sometimes we browbeat their product, and we probably do sometimes, but we never really shit on it. Even on that rant that you had, we told people, you know, we're not telling you not to buy tickets, not to watch it or anything like that, you know.
Oh, no, I'll never. Yeah, I don't care how much I dislike something. I'm never going to tell somebody else they shouldn't do it unless it's like, you know, built by hand by the Chinese government or something, you know?
Yeah. No, I know our fan base, you know, we're more old school and things like that, but of course that is relevant. And I know we won't talk too much about the NWA. We both talked off air a little about that basically we're watching some TV matches, you know, like back in the day, and you can enjoy that program. What I don't get, and I won't go into great detail, but I don't understand how people, if you're a wrestling fan, that's great, but I don't understand why you have to decide between AEW and WWE or NWA, or, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, choose the product you like. That doesn't mean the browbeater shit the other product to death, you know? Some people like it one way, some people like it the other. Just enjoy it, man. Get the fuck along. How's that?
Yeah, I don't get that. You know, I remember back in the 90s there were arguments between Star Trek and Star Wars fans, and I'm like, what? So you're a better class of fucking nerd than the other guy? What are you fucking arguing over, you know?
Yeah. And it's go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, it's, you know, right now I guess the real big difference is AEW and WWE.
Yeah.
And here's my thing. Here's my biggest complaint with the WWE. First off, they hate wrestling. And what I like is the wrestling side of wrestling. I don't go for the standing in the garden doing a soliloquy stuff. The other thing is I feel like the WWE insults the intelligence of their audience regularly, not just here and there. Look, everybody's going to do it. Everybody talks down to everybody. But I feel like the WWE regularly goes, our audience is not smart enough to understand this, so we will shove it down their throat.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking, it's not like the Monday Night Wars when you had WCW going against WWE or F at the time, you know.
Right.
This is just a little bit different. That's why I don't see. I can understand people liking one over the other or disliking one over the other. That's fine. But I think it would be better because I think, you know, both companies have stepped up since they, you know, has went out on TV and stuff now. If there was a show that went head to head, if there really was I know they've changed some TV times around to do this and do that. I'm just thinking if it got us, I don't know how to really where you say it. If you, I would have said Monday night, if they both got a Monday show for 2 hours and went head to head, I know they got Raw. I'm just saying, if you know, just somewhere in there where went, you know, really where people had to choose or flip flat back and forth, and I'm just like,
well,
and I know they got SmackDown going against. They've got stuff on YouTube, and I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Just, you know what I'm saying?
TV's not like it used to be.
It's different.
You don't have to choose in between anything. You record one, watch the other. You know, and I'll tell you what, numbers that used to get shows canceled, people would shit themselves to have now.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at how many people were watching WCW when it folded because TNT didn't want to air it anymore, that's 10 times as many people as are watching all wrestling now.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I'll see people like, oh, AEW only pulled whatever number, right?
Yeah.
But 900,000 people.
Yeah, that's about right.
Okay. Oh, but you know, they're not getting an audience. And guys, there's not much of an audience to get.
Yeah.
You know, that's really the thing here. You know, there's just not that many people out there to watch wrestling. And look, okay, so wrestling in the past has been burnt and anti-kayfabed, and they've come back from it. So it's possible that wrestling could get interesting to a broad audience again.
Yeah.
It's also possible that it never does again.
Very possible.
Yeah.
But there's just so much. I don't even. TV changed so much for me. I very seldom watch TV. I watch YouTube. You know, I stream just like that. You know. On the Peacock last night, I watched that, and then hell, I've got Netflix and access to Hulu, and you know, I share accounts with different people, so everyone can, you know, that's just the way it works out. So I mostly watch YouTube. I want to tell you this: you and Sparks will be happy about this. I think I watched this morning. I have watched 2 episodes of Corner Gas.
Okay.
I found it yesterday on IDMB TV.
Okay,
and
yeah.
I watched the movie on it yesterday, and I just was looking for some different things during the middle of the day. And I saw popular TV shows, of course, and I went across the screen. I said, you know what? I think I may start watching that tomorrow. So I liked it. I think I'm going to be a regular. And, season 1, episode 1 and 2, just where I'm at.
It is one of the witty, well, they call it the Canadian Seinfeld. It's one of the wittiest written shows in a long time, Mm-hmm. It's a little dated now. I mean, it's very like old school, but I haven't watched it much since my divorce, but I love that show,
Yeah.
And, to the point where I've even gone to dinner with some of the cast members.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
I thought you had told me before.
So
I just want to let you know that. I've caught, I already like some of the witticism on it, the wittiest stuff. And I like it. Good writing, of course. I like that. So.
Yeah. Really sharp writing, really sharp, really. The level of humor is a very wordy kind of humor. And you as an author probably enjoy that,
Yeah.
Because it is just a lot of wordplay,
Yep.
And that's always fun.
I've enjoyed it. And speaking of writing, let's go ahead and get this out of the way. We'll get into our second part 2 of the top 10 British wrestlers. And I'll do a rundown from 10 through 5 for us right after I plug the books, Jeremy. How's that?
Sounds fantastic.
So, The Professor, I got 2 books out there. If you're new to the podcast, this may be the first time you've heard this little PSA or whatever. And if you listen to it, you're probably tired of Bobby pushing his books. But they're available on Amazon. And what the Professor's done, he's put a couple little links to them. And my first book is called Pin Me, Pay Me, Have Boostful Travel. And if you'll use tinyurl.com/BlazeBook1, that's a shortcut that'll take you right over to get Pin Me, Pay Me, Have Boostful Travel. I was thinking it was 20 cents. Then a Professor, I think just last week you get about 12 cents to the affiliate account for each book.
Yep.
I know it's not a lot, but it does go back into the program in some small way. So we appreciate that. Also, my second book, I kicked that on too, The Educational Wrestler. That's available at tinyurl.com/BlazeBook2. It's that simple. Go get yourself a copy. Get the family member as a wrestling fan in your family a copy, or get a friend a copy. And I hope you enjoy them. Both books have gotten several reviews. The first one has over 100 reviews, and it's averaging out to about a 4.5 or so. And I'm really pleased with that. I'm not sure. I think the second book has about 32 reviews, something like that. And I appreciate the people that take the time to write a book review. That really encourages an author, but what it also does, it encourages other readers that see a good review or an honest review. That's why I saw ever ask for the fair and honest review. And it lets other people know, hey, maybe I better check this book out. Again, Pin Me, Pay Me, Have Boostful Travel. tinyurl.com/BlazeBook1 and tinyurl.com/BlazeBook2 for The Educational Wrestler. I kicked that on too. So anyway, I said it backwards, but what the hell? We got bigger fish to fry today, Professor.
That's right. And the British are known for fried fish.
Fish and chips.
Yep,
when
that's
I was
it.
in England, I enjoyed them, and they really do wrap them up in a little newspaper there, and you're good to go, man.
Mm-hmm.
Greasy, but good.
Yeah. Did you get any spotted dick for breakfast over there?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay.
No, I did not. I started to say I got something else, but I better not. Never mind. I'll leave that to your imaginations out there.
Oh, good Lord.
Anyway, yeah. Top 10 British wrestlers, part 2. If you missed 2 weeks ago, it's still available to download out there. But anyway, our number 10 was Big Daddy. Number 9 was Marty Jones. Number 8 was Dave Finley. Number 7 was Rollerball Rocco. And number 6 was Robbie Brookside. And we had some, different things to say about each of those wrestlers. And we're going to pick it up with number 5 today. Jeremy, you want to introduce number 5 here, and then
All
we'll
right.
talk a little bit about it?
Number 5 is Johnny Saint. He was born John Miller in June of 1941, and he broke into wrestling at the age of 15, apparently. Now, one of the things we got to address real quickly here is the British education system. You're pretty much done with high school at the age of 16. That's all that you're required to attend is until you're about 16. Now, after that, people can go to college or trade schools or university. Mm-hmm. So it's a little different than ours. And basically over there, by you're 16, you're basically an adult in the UK. Basically.
And I think you're drinking beer at 13 or 15.
Well, yeah, I think if you can reach it and, all that kind of stuff. But yeah. Well, yeah. Because you know what? You can drink at a restaurant when you're 15 or 16, if I remember right.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think it was 15. I could be wrong.
You can't sit there and get shit-faced, but if you're, if you're there with your family or something, you can have a beer.
Yeah. And I saw that. But I'll tell you what, before I went over there, a gentleman that worked out to the fitness place I was working out at the time, he had been overseas and took a big tour, like kind of retirement type deal. Mm-hmm. And, of course, he visited, England. And he said, Bobby, I'm going to tell you something. He said, believe it or not, some of the best places to eat will be at a pub. And he said, you get a full course meal for about 10 pounds or so, about $10 or what it was.
Yeah.
But, and I went to them. Sundays were really good, but you just walk into a pub and, you order a beer and you can order a full meal, man. Unlike where you can just go up to the fish and chip stands and, you pay $10 for that too. They had a lot of kebab shops and things like that, but stores or shops, whatever, cafes. But I enjoyed the meals just in the pubs, and I saved some money getting them there. It's really good food. You get a cold beer, like I said. But you're not, because I originally thought, what, people go in the middle of the day and get shit-faced? No. To have a mug of beer or a glass of beer and have a nice meal,
Yeah.
Saw it many times while I was there. I did have, I think it's called a fry-up for breakfast, the English breakfast. We did a bed and breakfast one day on the tour, and you get like fried eggs, fried mushrooms and tomatoes, baked beans, 2 pieces of toast, trying to think. Oh, you get 2 different kind of pork. You get a sausage and maybe a bacon, ham. It was pretty damn good, man. Of course, it's all fried, and you get a coffee or a tea with it. And we stayed at this bread and breakfast, with this German kid at the one we stayed at. And we got up, this little old lady had it all fried up for us, man. It's really nice. So it's pretty cool. So,
no, that's cool.
Anyway, back to Johnny Saint. 15 years old, the man of 1,000 holds. Now, I'm going to tell you, Reese Ramon come to me at the school about could you tell how many weeks ago, and said that she was talking to someone or asked someone advice on learning some more wrestling, And she come to me and she said, someone told me to watch Johnny Saint. And I said, okay, I'm familiar with him. I had just watched some stuff on YouTube. And I went back and rewatched for the last several weeks up to this list some of the matches he's had on World of Sport TV. We talked about those being available on YouTube. Mm-hmm. I watched a really good match since we just talked about him against Robbie Brookside. There's a 2-parter on there of that. But he wrestled about everyone. But there's the thing I did like. There's about a 4-minute video of like a seminar he was doing, and he was 70 in the video. And man, right here, talk about a man of 1,000 holds. It shows him going through at 70 now. What we've got here, wrist locks, roll up pins, bridges. He's just got a lot of good counters. Very incredible man, and. Anyway, I was like, we got to put him on this list. The more I read about him, the more I liked him, and the more I watched, rather, the more I liked him. So I think the last was he doing something with WWE UK, if I'm not mistaken, some kind of ambassador over there, maybe. I'm not sure.
General manager of the UK NXT. Yeah.
I knew it was something like that because I think I saw, I won't say who because we'll get to this person later on. I think he posted something about him too on Twitter there. And very reliable resources. You'll find out, or we'll find out later on.
Yeah.
But anyway, this Lady of the Lake Hold as his finishing move. So anyway, if you're not a Johnny Saint fan,
do we know what that hold is?
no, I'm sitting here. I just went over that. But yeah, if you're not a Johnny Saint fan, it's because you may not know who he is. Do yourself a favor. Go on YouTube and watch a couple of his matches, and you will be a fan. I'm telling you, it's really some exciting wrestling. And, of course, they do the round system that we talked about last week. So it's pretty damn good, man.
Okay, hold on. You gotta listen to this description.
Yeah, I'm waiting.
The move used to trick an unsuspecting opponent. The wrestler sits down, crosses their legs, and tucks their head to their chest, and wraps one arm around their ankle so they're effectively rolled into a ball. The wrestler then extends the remaining arm between their legs and waits for the opponent to take their hand. When the opponent takes their hand, they roll them into an arm bar. This was used by Johnny Saint as the Johnny Saint special.
Okay. I'll have to review some of those tapes a little bit closer. I don't know, or videos or whatever the hell on YouTube. I don't know that I saw him doing that. If I did, he done it too damn quick for me to catch. So I did a 3, off of that I did take back to the camp. Reese wanted to do something, and she got this little arm deal down that we got from him. And she really liked doing it, and she's starting to do it in some of her training matches. What was throwing us off really was I had to catch this because she was trying to show me, and I was like, just let me watch. You know, she was trying to show me on her phone too. I said, it's going too fast. Let me watch it on my TV at home, and I'll get back to you. And what it was, when we do an arm bar on someone here in the States, we're out to the side of them. Okay. Yeah. And we stand to the side. We do a wrist lock or whatever from there, arm bar. Well, what he does, you're standing in front of your opponent. And so I've got you in an arm bar, but I'm in front of you. And so I can work up and down your body. And that's what he did. He was doing this little bounce, and then he was hitting his butt and kicking his arm out and reversing it, and then going for several more arm moves. And anyway, I looked at it like, here's where you're missing that, including myself. They're working from the front. And once we changed that position, she got down what she wanted out of it. And then one of the other guys, Psycho Chase Ward, he took the other 3 things. I said, look at this, Chase, because I've known Chase for a long time. I trained him when he was 18 years old. And I said, do this. And I showed him, and he said, man, I really like that. And during his training matches, he did it with a couple of different people. It's just something really simple and effective with the arm. But I stole it from Johnny Saint, and I gave it to him, and I hope they do it for many years to come, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So,
well,
pretty damn good stuff.
And I would say as a fan, you know, you'll have to speak separately, you know, being as a wrestler and a coach. Don't undersell the arm bar. Arm joint manipulation moves.
Yes.
They do hurt, but I mean, they can especially be made to look like they hurt like a son of a bitch too. You know, and actually, you know, you ever want to make somebody piss their pants and walk them out of a party, a good hammer walk will do it.
Well, it's funny you should say that. I saw Sandy Scott escort a guy out of a building once with a simple. He grabbed him by the arm and hooked him and just manipulated his ass right out of the building. Now, I will say this. It was the same guy that Buddy Landell punted right in the fucking head before he was escorted out of the building. But, yeah.
That softened him up a little bit. Yeah.
It softened him up some, yeah. But, yeah, you're right, though. And I tell you this, the chicken wing, if you get behind someone and you grab underneath their left arm and reach around their chin, you could break their elbow, their shoulder, or come across their nose or neck, depending where you put that second arm at. But you talk about effective, man. It's effective. The thing about that is, the drunker the person is, it's the easier to get them into that. That's where you see that a lot of times. I don't know what bouncers do nowadays. I'm just saying I've seen it, and had to do it before. And usually the person's, pretty inebriated, and they want to fight you, and they wear themselves out really quick because you pretty much got them tied up,
Oh, yeah.
And you're walking them the whole time trying to avoid the fight, saying, come on, we're just going this way. We're just walking right over here, and before you know it, you're out the door. And that's the whole goal.
Yep.
But anyway, enough about Johnny Saint, I guess, the Lady of the Lake there.
Yeah.
Let's move on to number 4, and that would be Billy Robinson.
Billy Robinson. This is a name that I would be shocked if anybody in our audience didn't know.
Right.
Stone cold badass was Billy Robinson.
Yeah.
I saw him showing how to do the toe lock. Was it the Gotch toe lock?
I don't know.
It's the one that Gotch used to beat Hackenschmidt, I think.
Okay.
And he was in his 70s, and he was showing these kids how to put that on. And when I saw that move and saw how vicious that son of a bitch looked, his toe hold doesn't sound like much.
Right.
Yeah, go watch what it really is, and you get a whole different opinion. I've seen
some of his clips on there too, of him coaching. He was up in his years there coaching.
Yeah.
I say this: I've heard 2 things. I can't speak. Just saying, these are 2 stories I heard. Iron Sheik claims that he tried to take liberties with him when he was a student, and he didn't like that, and he brings it up quite often that, that's no way to coach someone, is to hurt him. And recently on Wrestling Shoot interviews with James, the young man from over in England, I had the pleasure of being on his podcast. He's had Jim Brunzell on there, and he was talking about working in Minnesota and stuff, and he just said that as much he knew Bob Orton could really go, and he saw Billy Robinson trying to manipulate him a little bit, try to take advantage of him. He said didn't hurt him. He said because Bob Orton, I said Rupert, but it was Bob Orton Jr. and he said he really had to protect himself because he was trying to take advantage of him a little bit. So I don't think that's the best way to coach. Just saying. No. But that's not the same thing bad against Robinson. The other thing is that I know, he changed mixed martial artist when he was in Japan. I know him and Carl Gotch supposedly had words. And I think the way the story went, I could be wrong, was basically Carl just said, they separated them and he was like, would you like to go out in the street with me? And he said no. And for the right reasons, they were their own business, And I think they ended up going like separate bars after that. But Carl, like I said, with Malenko, they had it on and off again, hot and cold relationship. I think from what I gathered after that tour, they were still, they weren't like bitter enemies. It didn't seem like it come out of that story. It's just one of those things where like, I'll go here, you go there. We'll mind our own manners kind of thing,
So Billy Robinson came through the Snake Pit.
Right.
And every one of those places called the Snake Pit usually beat the living shit out of everybody that was in there.
And Carl was there, and they may have been looking at that time frame.
Yeah.
He may have been around the same time because Carl was in the Olympics in 48, and he went and studied in 10 years over to the Snake Pit as well. And that, you're talking Billy Robinson would have been there maybe a little bit before that. I'm not sure. But it looks like in 58, which that'd be 10 years. Carl would have been over there during that time, I would think. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were there together is what I was getting at,
Yeah. Well, and my thinking is you come out of that school, you got beat up by your coaches.
Yeah.
And you come out and you beat up as a coach. And it's not fucking right. I mean, it's not.
Right. No, I know, like we done shoot fighting on Sundays down Tampa sometimes, and Carl would come in. I was going to tell him some of that of what he was when he was there, because at that point he was training people at his place. But his son-in-law Masami was there, and a couple. I didn't see people trying to intentionally hurt people, but they were showing them this is how you can hurt someone. At that stage, and it was pretty rugged. I'll say that the conditioning was rugged, and the shoot fighting was. Bart Bell came up, man. I mean, they had some legitimate, tough guys that came through there. Big guy, something Mac, Florida guy. He called him Mac Truck, but obviously that wasn't his real name. But his last name was Mac. Anyway, it had several legitimate guys coming through there. Of course, Gotcha trained a whole bunch of people over in Japan at that point too.
Yeah.
So, but Robinson, yeah, maybe ask the why, because you kind of sometimes that's the way you teach is what you were taught, and that was a different breed of persons than nowadays too. We know that, Jeremy. Them guys were just tough, mean son of a bitches, and they had it. And here's just like you got right here. One of the reasons to be that way is you don't have the luxury of toilet paper. Very rough training environment. If Riley was Billy Riley, if he was very impatient with his students, then maybe if they showed the slightest sign of weakness, well, that's the way Robinson was trained. So maybe that's what he knew best.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I'm not saying it makes it right or agreeable, but I am saying it was probably that,
Yeah. Before we move on, I was just going to say, we talked about this before. I don't know that we had Billy Robinson on our legit tough guys, our top 10. I know Carl, we put him down a second because we had Ming at number 1. That video has been taken down, but the rest of them are out there. And with that said, I'm wondering if Billy Robinson, Gene LaBelle, and Carl Gotch weren't the 3 toughest men to walk the face of the earth. I don't know. I'm probably leaving someone off. Like I said, maybe a Ming or someone, but that'd be a hell of a trio right there. You mentioned that toe hold, and I went back in my mind to we watched some of those videos on Gene LaBelle on his when he was doing demonstrations from that book that he had, and with Mondo, and he's in there stretching them like crazy, man. So again, that's probably the reason why. I need to drink water. Sorry.
Yeah. Go right ahead. No, it's that would be.
On, I'm sorry, people.
Yeah, no, that would be a rough crowd of 3 right there, because that'd be 3 guys could whoop just about anybody's ass. Yeah, Ming. See, okay, so when I'm thinking of those 3 guys, I'm thinking they're going to tie your ass up and choke you out or something. When I'm thinking Ming, he's going to jam his finger in your mouth and pop your jaw off.
Yeah, rip an eye out.
Yeah,
bite your nose off.
Different kind of fight.
Yes, yeah.
Ming's the kind of guy that if he's pissed at you, the only chance you got is to shoot him when he's far away. That's
that just might make him mad.
Yep, that was to say. Then that's all on you. Whatever happens after that point.
I was going to also say real quickly about Billy Robinson. I don't recall it, but I've heard Cornette talk about it. He did come through Memphis and work some shows, and I guess that style was a little bit different than what the South was used to. So I don't think he tore the house down or anything, but just probably came through on like a 2-week loop or something like that, maybe a couple of different times. But I don't recall ever seeing him, to be quite honest with you. At a younger age, So
yeah,
I would have liked to have, but I don't recall. He must have already done it or not done much. Maybe didn't do the TV. I'm not sure, but I heard he came through. A couple weeks there, a couple different times, and there was another British guy too. The reason I may mention, I can't think of the other guy. Same kind of legit wrestler that just kind of. But anyway, the reason I said that because this next guy I got to see and I got to meet in person on my very first wrestling match I had, and everyone would think they could beat this guy's ass. I bet, or the fans might have.
Yeah.
But this guy was also a legitimate tough guy too, and that is Adrian Street, the exotic Adrian Street, man. And his character and his gimmick was so fucking over. People hated him, man. Mm-hmm. And of course, he did the kind of gay, trans, vestite type of a gimmick. And man, he was just he was over, man, as a heel. He come through Memphis, and of course, we got to see him on TV and this and that. Now, real briefly, my first match was September 11th, 1988, and I was in Hayside, Virginia. There was some wrestling had finished up. I think Continental, Memphis was still on, and still some shows. Anyway, I went to this show, and he was there, and I just had the pleasure of walking over and introducing myself to him. Not much came of it other than to say I, shook the man's hand, I think he worked the main event that night, if I'm not mistaken. But and Miss Linda was with them, and I think they actually had been on a couple other, they came up this way and had been booked on several other shows besides the one I was on. I was just booked on the one show, but that's how I got to meet them. And it was my pleasure, but I, didn't get to, learn from him or get to watch him too much other than when I saw him on Memphis TV. Man, he could piss people off.
Yeah.
He could get over.
Well, that's when guys drew real fucking heat still. I mean, obviously. Yeah. I always think it's funny. Wrestling, pro wrestling behind the scenes, a lot of gay people in there. And yet still the way they would play with the homophobia in the ring and stuff, I find that kind of fascinating. Yeah. And that working class crowd back then.
Yeah.
Even hinting that somebody might be gay would just fucking work them into a froth, Yeah. And
once again, he broke, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and I have to imagine, did he develop that character here in the States or did he develop that character in the UK? No, that's what I was going to say. At
the age of 16, once again, that's when he began his professional wrestling career. His family was in a coal mining business.
Yeah.
His dad was a miner for like 51 years. And I'd heard that. He's got a story on, his story's on YouTube, if I'm not mistaken. It's pretty interesting. But his early inspiration were Lou Thez, Buddy Rogers, and Don Leo Jonathan, whom Street adopted his first name, or his first moniker, and that was Kid Tarzan Jonathan. But he was had his first professional match in 1957 using the name Kid Tarzan Jonathan. Later in his career, he developed that exotic Adrian Street image. I'm pretty sure that he did that over there because he made his own clothes. And at one time, I don't know now, but at one time he would sell gimmicks here. He did masks and robes, and he done all of his own stuff. And the thing about him, to my knowledge, he's a self-made man in that business because he had records. He's still got several records. I would imagine he sells them through his website. I'm trying to think of which interview or who I saw interviewing him, and he was talking about that. But he's done so much outside the ring as well. He owned a gym at one time in Florida. I think he still trains quite hard. I can't remember if that's on that video as well. I have to type in his name in YouTube there, and I think there's a really good interview. I can't remember which podcast it was, what I was getting at, but it's really cool about his life story on there. But he talks about going back to the coal mines and people thinking, that he was gay and or effeminate or whatever, but he wasn't.
Yeah,
that was the thing. So
no, and he was a pretty serious bodybuilder.
Yeah.
And I remember in the early 2000s, I happened across his website, and he had where he was telling the story about him and was it Miss Linda or
yeah.
But I guess when they first started, she wrestled as Blackfoot Sue, a Native American character.
Man.
And I can't remember. I want to say they tried it here in the States and realized it wasn't going to work,
Yeah.
But he had on his website, he had all sorts of hey, this is how you get, a thicker chest and all sorts of bodybuilding tips and stuff. Seemed, from my limited ability to understand what he was saying, seemed like a guy who was very knowledgeable and had a hell of a career to follow,
Yeah.
And
I think he did.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I don't know the exact year, but it would have been late 70s, early 80s. He had pre-internet, like you was talking about his website and me talking about that podcast. He would run an ad in a magazine sometimes for a wrestler's mask and things like that, like to the general public, not the professional style, because I know he made professional styles too, but the gimmick ones that eventually became popular out on the indie circuit, people, make up these little masks now and sell them $5, $10, $20, whatever. But he was doing that years and years ago. He, really got over, learn how to make money. Let's say that, learn how to make money.
Well, and that's really the trick,
Yep.
To anything.
We're getting down here to the nitty gritty, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
I'm sorry if I'm talking over, man. I'm off the hell, but that week threw me off, man.
Bobby,
my bad, and I apologize.
You got nothing to apologize for, because when I miss a week, I am literally 2 or 3 weeks before I've got my shit back together. And
Yeah.
I got to tell you, you know, I'm starting another podcast as a side project, and it's a Star Trek related one. And the other day, as we were recording the first episode, I had to remind myself not to do the Bell to Bell Blaze opening. So I was afraid I was going to fuck up the opening today when we started.
We'll take our plugs. We can get them at, man.
Oh yeah, no, it'll come up. It'll come up on there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Speaking of which, if you'd like to follow me on Twitter, follow me at Bobby Blaze 744. You may stop following me after this episode. I don't know. But Jeremy can be reached at the Geekish Cast or the joint account, which is Bell to Bell Blaze. And there's also a Facebook page that is the Bell to Bell Blaze also. And we have Bell to Bell Blaze website at www.belltobellblaze.com. We've got t-shirts available there, stories available there, some pictures available there, and I have just been too sidetracked writing some other things out to even send in a blurb for that, but I apologize for that too. But we're getting it together, guys. I'm trying to anyway.
No,
number 2, Jeremy.
It's gonna be fine. Number 2.
Okay.
Is the Dynamite Kid, a.k.a. Thomas Billington.
Yes. Man.
This is the guy that everybody...
Came up,
this is the guy that everybody pointed to is like, this is the guy to wrestle like. This is, you know...
Yes.
Transformational, I think is the right term, you know?
Right. If we go back to 2 weeks ago, or that podcast on part 1, several of the people that wrote in, and we appreciate that again. I won't go through all the names. I think all 3 of them, I'm looking at right now from notes about 2 weeks ago, all 3 have mentioned the British Bulldogs as a team. Jeremy and I spoke. We sent in, you know, we talked about this list, and I hope you're really happy with this list. But we decided we weren't going to do the British Bulldogs because it was more the Dynamite Kid, like you said, transitional, mind-blowing people, changed the business in some aspect as to, you know, like you said, how people are doing matches. He was doing those matches for years, you know, in Japan with Tiger Mask before, you know, and we got I guess the big one was like 1981 Madison Square Garden when they worked together. It kind of opened some eyes there too. But we didn't put in Davey Boy for a reason. We're going best wrestlers, and that's not a dig towards Davey Boy. It's not a dig towards the British Bulldogs as a unit. We're just wanted to go with wrestlers, and we went with Dynamite Kid coming in at number 2. Notable feuds, of course, like I said, man, Tiger Mask in Japan, Bret Hart in Canada. You know, he was in Stampede for years. He just incredible, man. He could do about anything in the world in that ring. He was one of the few people. Go ahead.
He had an explosiveness to his movements too, where it just seemed like he could go from a dead stop to fucking 100 miles an hour, you know?
Yeah.
And his suplexes were sharp, and they look like they would just knock you sideways.
Yeah, and I think they the way he worked, the athleticism involved. I saw him live, you know, several times. I'm thankful I didn't wrestle. I gotta be honest with you, he'd eat me up. But what I was going to say earlier, you made mention of this, or put it in the notes there. He's one of the few people, and it's going to sound crazy, but I'll say Benoit first, because Benoit, you know, took his same style and he wanted to beat the Dynamite Kid basically.
Yep.
And Dean was the other one that I knew, as well as Eddie. Those 4 guys, and Dean told me this when I'd maybe worked Canada and came back and was helping out the school down there in Tampa and things, is he could do all there's a different style, and one of them's a British style, Mexican, if you can wrestle down Mexico to Mexican style, because they work from the right-hand side. In Japan, Canada, the layout of the match is just a little bit different, but and of course we'll say American style when we say Canada, involved in that a little bit. So basically those 4 styles, man, and he could do it. He could do all 4 styles. He could work from the right from Mexico, some styles are more stiff. He could do the stiffer matches, like in Japan, and he could do, of course, obviously the British style, and obviously the American or North American type style. We work from the left, and he, of course, done a transition very well into the WWE style. They have their own style there, their own style matches, and he learned that style. So very, very well-rounded professional wrestler, and well-deserving to be on this list.
I got a question for you. I don't know that you'll know the answer to this. World of Sport style, how big a ring do they use?
Oh, you know what? This is just me, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I am, by looking at this, now this ring we train in here, we have a 16 by 16 foot ring. I used to rent this ring years ago, and Joe at FTC bought it. It's a very nice training ring. At one point, it was nice for the shows too. And I'm trying to get to a point here. Most rings are 18 by 18 or 20 by 20.
Yeah.
WWE, WCW, so we're used to seeing those bigger ones. I want to say, by looking, and there's things called TV rings, and there's some old footage, Detroit, some others. Trying to think of the other one. I know it's Detroit, but I'm looking at these rings, and I'm best of my memory too. I don't know if they would call that a TV ring or not, but I swear to you, I'm thinking those rings are 14 by 14. And I've only seen it a few times in the United States many years ago. That extra 2 foot just on a 16 by 16 foot ring makes a difference, just like it does to the 18 footers that we run our shows in around here are 18 footers usually. Well, that to me on that World of Sport, I honestly think they're 14 by 14. Okay. And also, when I said a TV ring, sometimes, they're elevated just enough for the TV coverage. Now we're talking World of Sport, many years ago, where the audience can actually see it still, but the ring's smaller, and it makes the wrestlers appear a lot larger, if that makes sense, because you're a little bit deceived by the ring you see at a house show where it's bigger, whereas if a TV ring, it takes up less space. And I think, and again, the illusion is making your wrestlers look a lot bigger. I could swear, and I may be wrong, it could be 15. I don't know. It could be an odd number. I've always heard of, evens, but I swear it looks like a 14 by 14 foot ring. That's my answer, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, because I was just thinking right then as we were talking, and it always seemed to me like when you watch a British match, the ring seems small. And I didn't know if that's just, whatever, just stuck in my head or whatever. But I have to imagine if you start in the UK and if rings are that size, then you get here in, most indie shows, and I'm sure Stu Hart probably ran an 18 foot ring, which is
probably about
common. And then the WWE ring is actually a little off square. I think it's like 21 by 20 or some weird ass thing.
Okay.
I don't remember where I heard this, but it was because of the way the hard cam hits the ring. And that way, if you cross that direction, so you're running in front of it, basically, it makes it all look larger. And but it's got to be a son of a bitch, if you're going to hit the ropes or do anything like that, and then all of a sudden there's an extra 4 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've never done it, but it sure sounds to me like
it does make a difference.
Yeah.
It does. We do training, like I said, in that 16 by 16, but now, we do, like, there's a couple of drills we'll do, and I'll say, look, you're going to have an extra 2 feet to do this, but in this ring, this is what you might want to do to adjust. It could be something as simple as reversing say you're in a turnbuckle, and I'm reversing you from one turnbuckle to the other. You take a couple steps in the 16-foot ring, you're like right in the middle right there. And then you're trying to reverse from there. So sometimes we have to step back, then reverse it, so the person can hit the other turnbuckle out of the reversal. It's just easier to do in training that way. But most people adapt very easy to the 18 by 18 ring for the shows, quite easily, really. The only difference is if we're working on cardio drill, like I do a cone drill where you do drop downs or pancakes, and we try to set little records of hitting the ropes and doing drop down, and hit the ropes and things like that. And so you're not out there doing that the entire time, say someone done it the other day for 3 minutes or what have you, they're not out there in the middle of an 18-foot ring doing rope work for 3 minutes straight. You know what I'm saying? They're getting a break here or grabbing a hold there or whatever. So it's, you know, but as far as footing and stuff, you have to get an extra step off the ropes is all. You hit the ropes and you know, okay, just run to the other side, hit the rope. As long as you grab that rope, you'll more likely get the footwork down, you know. So it's not too bad, actually. Anyway, anything else about the rings?
No, that was just sorry. It was a quick aside, but it was a question I had.
That's a good question.
Yeah,
I watched them YouTube, and I'm like, I think that's 14 by 14. You know.
Yeah, it just seemed like a small ring. Yeah. Well, what we should probably do here.
Yeah, we should probably talk about what
number one, which is going to be Lord William Regal. Or Stephen Regal, or Darren Kenneth Matthews. There we go.
Yes, Darren Matthews,
who is much, much, much younger than we think he is.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And also going back 2 weeks ago, Marty Jones, one of this list, was the one that trained, and we kind of kayfabed it or whatever that William Regal was going to be number one, but. We said that he trained someone that Marty Jones trained someone on this list, and just wanted to bring that out that he did. He came in, Jeremy. We best know him probably when he came into WCW, getting interviewed by probably JR at the time, I think, for WCW rather.
Maybe Missy Hyatt at the
accolades time. There. Yeah. I'll let you take over a little bit there.
Oh, it's just, okay. I remember him quite well because the way he would look at the crowd was like my favorite thing about him. He looked into the crowd like, you fucking people stink. And he was just great at it. And his skill in the ring is often very underappreciated. This guy was a brilliant tactician in the ring, and he's a good storyteller in the ring. Yeah,
absolutely.
And Bobby, you worked around? Yeah, you worked with him.
I got to work with him. Yeah. So when I met him, I don't know, I hadn't been at WCW too long. And it was him and Fit Finley and Dave Taylor hanging around each other mostly. And I walked up and, of course, spoke to him. And the good thing about being trained by Malenko and Dean Malenko is people automatically, of course, people I think will treat you the way you teach them to treat you. Yeah. You give someone some respect, you'll get some respect. I'd been there a couple of weeks. They had seen me work. They knew that Dean had trained me. And so there was a little bit of respect there, and that was a good thing, when you're talking to those guys, because I certainly had respect for them and knew who the hell they were, And what I did was I had been to South Africa in '92, and I had heard that tour before me that went over there, several of the guys went to jail, not for anything they intentionally did, but it was one of these deals where there was a shyster of a promoter. And there was 3 promoters you worked for over there at the tour I went on, and one of them, I guess, I'd heard the story. I actually heard it from the dirt sheet, and that's what I knew it. And I knew that Regal had worked for one of the promoters I'd worked for. So we started talking about going to South Africa, and I joked around. And I can't remember if he said, "Did you go to jail too?" Or if I said, actually, I think you all went. You had to go to jail, right? And he said, "Yeah." I won't mention the promoter's name. He's probably dead by now. But anyway, I'll just keep that out of there. But what happened was the guy, which I was smart enough to do this. Malenko had told me never give up my passport.
Yes.
So I knew that. But apparently a couple of the guys, as soon as we got off the plane, myself and Ron Starr were waiting a couple of hours at the airport. We didn't get off on the best foot when we got to South Africa because that one promoter did pick us up. 2 of the 3 treated us so good, and accommodations and everything. No worry. This guy, though, was just, like I said, not a very nice guy. And he would give you your work visa, and you'd have a certain amount of days to fill, that you're allowed to work in that country. And he took a couple of people's passports, held them, and I was supposed to do a 28-day tour. I did 21 days, and we got to out of the country. British Airways helped myself and Ron Starr escape, basically. But anyway, thanks to the U.S. Embassy, we was in contact with from about day 3, I guess. But the guy would work the way it would go. Say we're supposed to work a show tomorrow. Today's date, being the 30th, okay? Well, your passport, you have your passport, and your visa paper so you can work to the 29th, okay? And he would run one more big show, draw quite the crowd, okay, say on the 30th, and then he would report you, call the police himself, okay? Your South African police come and get you, put you in jail because you worked past your visa date. So guess what happens? He don't have to pay you that night or maybe for that week of that tour, and you're stuck.
What a son of a bitch.
And I think Tony Atlas, Regal, I want to say it's Johnny Grunge. It might have been both Public Enemy. I can't remember. This other guy, GQ. Anyway, there's several guys I'd known. And so, point of the story is William Regal and I knew that, we talked about that. Now, I don't know though, I cannot honestly say if he was on that tour behind me that of the group that did go to jail, but I'm not saying he did. If you want to read about it, he's got a book called Walking Golden Mile, and I can't remember. I've read it years ago, but it's available at tinyurl.com/golden or Gold Regal. Gold Regal. It's a really good book, but my mind is, I can't remember if he avoided jail because he knew, like I did, not to give it the passport, or if he actually went. Someone's dad sent money. That's the only way you get out. Someone has to pay back in the United States, pays your bond or whatever, and they get you out of the country. But that promoter, he got the gate and didn't have to pay you. And I'm thinking he probably held back that last week's pay instead of just one night too, because he was supposed to pay you the next day, kind of thing. So anyway, that's just a story there. But as far as Regal goes, everyone knows him now. Most recently, and I'm curious as to where he's going to show up at. But he's been with WWF for 21 years, and or WWE rather, and he was talking about his facials and this and that. Just that whole, again, he started at 15 years old. He loved, I know this, but he loved that British comedy and the comedians. And he really just could, he knew how to turn it on, man. But as far as working with them, I did some tag. That was early on, like I said, when we first started talking. So I always spoke to him every time, all three of those guys. I saw them. At the end there, before everything went to hell in a handbasket there, I was getting a little bit, getting some wins on Saturday night, and then I was, getting good balanced, 50-50 matches or what have you and stuff. And then someone else came in that, the books changed, for the agent changed for this match. And I'm like, okay, this is my agent now. Well, that agent had a thing for Malenko and a couple of guys I knew pretty good, So, you try to get along with everyone professionally, but you start saying, okay, my contract's getting ready to come up, and, I'm starting to do some of these other matches. But what happened was they put me with the guy, a real nice guy named Adrian Bird, short, stocky, played football. I think he played football where Cena did up there in Massachusetts, Springfield or somewhere. Anyway, they started tagging us, and of course they put us against the Regal and Taylor. And then there was another young guy named Dave Burkhead who had just finished up in Malenko's. They started putting us in 6-mans, and they added Super Kick. What's his name there? Chris Adams.
Yeah.
Gentleman Chris Adams. So anyway, I got to work with Regal, and that sense I was in a tag match. Now, the way this worked was I'd been there. They knew me. They didn't know the other two guys that well. The other two guys are very green, and it's not a dig towards them. It's just where they was at in their career. And every time I got in, they had put me over doing something. then they had tag Bobby, and I tagged. So they, I think we did like 3 tag teams, just me and Adrian against Adrian and myself against Dave and Regal, and it was always like, we got you. So I'd get to do some. So they just put the heat on him the whole time. I'd might do something that they'd say tag, and as soon as I come in, hip toss me. It'd be something. He feed me something. So it was really, really easy. But like I said, a lot of change was going on there. But also, to the best of my knowledge, when it came to 6-man, I don't think any of them liked Chris Adams. And they put him on there where he was British. That's the only reason they put him with them on the 6-man, right? Again, some things have changed in the booking office there, or agents rather. And Regal come to me at night and said, Bobby, have a short arm tonight. I said, yes, sir. Well, they beat the piss out of them 2 boys. They were mad because Adams was with them, and they didn't hurt them very professionally. So let me clarify that. When I say I'm just saying they got them in and didn't give me anything. And then they go to tag, and I turn and look out in the audience like, who's clapping over there? And they'd have to stay in. And then, I'd see them take them down. I knew something was coming. And Adrian and Dave both would, when they did something, they'd come up, and when they tagged me, they said, feed them this, feed them that, And I'd come in, and as soon as I did something, they would take a bump for me. They'd
Nice.
Tag, they said, stay right here. They'd tag, and here comes Steve, Taylor in, right? Hey, Bobby, you looking good tonight. Tag out. And I go and tag out. And then they start getting the heat on the young boys again. It was really funny, man. I wish I could have had, I wrestled, I don't know if Adams got in the tag match, to be honest with you. I don't remember. I wrestled Adams twice. I wrestled Finley a couple times. That was the only way I got to wrestle Regal was under those circumstances, was like the last 3 or 4 tapings I was there that, put me on some tag matches with them. But it was a true pleasure to be under someone so talented, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm glad it went that way. In fact, I came home and it was like one of the first taping, if you're in the first 12 matches, comes out you tape on Tuesday, would be out that Saturday. And then if you was matches 13 through 24, those came out 2 weeks later on TBS, okay, the way we did our schedule. And so I was home when the second week came out, and Laird Zbysko was doing the announcing. He saw me like looking out to the audience, and he knew what was going on, the short arm deal, you know what I'm saying? And he said, man, and he just said, don't, he has put me over big time, like, Bobby Blaze, if he ever gets in this match, folks, I'm telling you. And he was putting me over too, right? Because he caught on to what was going on, man. And it's funny because he was worded that he mentioned, I got mentioned for not being in the ring more than the guy in the ring getting beat up. You know what I'm saying? And I was
Those
like,
guys they must have really pissed off a lot of people or something.
No, it wasn't. No, they was pissed off at the agents. And no, they weren't pissed off the young guys. No,
okay.
But they were professionals. What I'm saying, let me clarify.
Yeah.
They did not hurt anyone, but they also didn't want to. They didn't want me. They knew what I had been doing there for a couple of years now. They didn't want to go out there and kill me. Honestly, that professional is what I was getting at. No, they were more hot at the agent that put them together. Back in the back, things were happening in the back. This is 99, and things are changing. As we found out just a few months later after that. But anyway, no, I'll say they were pissed off professionally, not personally. At certain things going on. And it had nothing. Arn wasn't my agent then. Terry wasn't. I don't even think Terry was still there. Kevin wasn't. Just someone come in and start aging some of the matches and put them together and put certain people together. And again, you noticed that Malenko and Benoit and them left shortly after all that. This is all around that same time period. So there was just things going on professionally, but I wasn't involved in it. Hell, my contract was going to be up. I'm just glad they took enough care of me. They didn't job me, because it could have easily been done. Sid proved that because we had to do a tag match 2-on-1, and just things happen. But point being, Regal's a class act, man. Just class act. Really happy for his career. It's interesting to see where he's going to go. Again, we chose him to be number one just because everyone on our podcast should obviously know who he is. And just great, tremendous performer, man. I saw so many good matches that he's had through the years. Of course, I loved when he got to wrestle with Bobby Eaton as his tag team partner. That was the Robert over, what was it? The Earl of Eaton.
Yeah. Robert.
Yeah. Robert the Earl of Eaton or something.
Yeah.
But funny stuff. And I remember, Blue Bloods, so I remember Bobby Eaton and myself, he was telling me we was up there, we was in Vancouver shooting the video for EA Sports or the motion capture for them. And he was talking about they flew him to L.A., him and Regal, and he's standing in the corner with those white socks on, and with the suit with the white socks. And he just started laughing. He said, man, it's such a stupid idea. And he's telling me, and how, and he goes, no, about the only thing, though, Bobby, and that's what Bobby talked like that. Bobby, that's about the only thing is, they did these, we was up there hopefully going to get royalties from this video game, and Bobby was telling me a story. I don't know what to tell you to count on or not. He said, when we doing that, the guys were, the Blue Bloods, they made dolls, I guess, them stuffy dolls you could beat up or whatever, my pal pillows or something.
Okay.
Him and Regal, okay? You know what I'm talking about? Those dolls.
Yeah.
They had the Blue Bloods.
Yeah, I remember seeing the ads or something for them, yeah.
Yeah. Well, those are the ones I think, not the things you collect now, like the action figures. These were like the puffy,
No, this was like a pillow in the shape of a person with a slightly rougher outside, yeah.
Yeah. And Bobby was like, I never did see any money from that. No royalties. They owe me royalties for those. I just remember that's been a true story was how he was out there being a hick in L.A. wearing those white socks, with the suit. And then also he never got any royalties from those, my buddy or whatever the hell it was.
I bet you none of them sold this way.
I'd have had the heart to tell Bobby that. No, but anyway, yeah. I hope everyone loved our top 10. I'm going to go through it one more time just from the top, okay? Number 10 was Big Daddy. I get my paperback out here. At least I can see it now, buddy. I'll tell you that. Then number 9 was Marty Jones, who trained William Regal. We got Dave Finley, who, yes, I did have a match with him down in Orlando. We talked about Rollerball Rocco, number 7. 6 was Robbie Brookside. I talked about being over in England with him. The Johnny Saint came up today, as did Billy Robinson. The exotic one, Adrian Street. And then Dynamite Kid, man, up there. And then number 1, as we just talked about, William Regal. Man, just a first-class guy, and I'm happy for his success because he said that he was just, he I can't remember the exact tweet it was, but it was something about him being, just working on the boardwalk, basically, 15, 16-year-old kid out there and traveled, got to see the whole world, so yeah, he just one of those guys that just was happy being a wrestler and wrestled, and a wrestler's wrestler and a man's man,
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. But I was trying to see if that one tweet, can't remember exactly what it was. Yeah, here's a couple of them. Thank you to WWE for a wonderful 21-year run. You gave a lad who was happy and in Wonderland wrestling or in a carnival have a charmed life for 21 years. No complaints, and please no one waste time replying, as I don't have a bad word said against the company. So that's really cool, man. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's a pro right there.
Yeah, absolutely. So... got anything else to wrap up with? I think I got to talk about the February 12th real quick, if you don't care.
Go ahead.
yeah, I just wanted to mention that we got a big show. FTC's got a big show coming Saturday, February the 12th at the Boyd County Community Center. It's going to be a really big event. It's going to be on Fight TV, Jeremy, just so you know.
Okay.
I think that's cool. The show starts at 6:30 with a couple of dark matches. It goes at 7 o'clock. The taping starts. The only thing I'm not sure of at this point is if they're going to do it live or they might have to broadcast it an hour after it takes place on Fight TV. I'm not sure if they signed that, how that worked out yet. I'll tell you right now, the main event is Jock Sampson and Brox Boulder. They're going to do a last man standing match. As I mentioned, Reese Ramon will be on the show. She's wrestling with Sarah Bubbles. That's the ladies' match. Also have coming in Luscious Lawrence from OVW, Matt Cross. What's his name? I'm looking at his picture. Enzo. Damn it, Enzo is coming in. Redbeard, Eric Redbeard's coming in. Rakishi's coming in. And so is Scotty Too Hottie doing the worm. And also Jordan Grace is going to be in combat. It's Saturday, February 12th at the Boyd County Community Center. And it's put on by FTC, man. It's called My Way, and it should be a hell of a show, man. I'm trying to think here real quickly. Just hope everyone comes out for it, man. It'll be a fun time, something to do, you know. Lawrence is wrestling Scotty Too Hottie with Rikishi, like I said. Trying to think, I mentioned that match. Going through Jordan Grace is looking for. She's going to wrestle Ray Lynn. I think she does some work down OVW as well.
Oh, okay.
So it should be a really action-packed card. I'm going to be there. I'm just going to probably agent a couple matches from the back and enjoy some good professional wrestling. Hopefully. What I was going to say is wrestling the way you remembered it, wrestling the way it should be or something. But
the way you like it.
Yeah, and there's also a special ladders match. It's for the Contenders AOG ladders match. We got Psych Ward and Caleb Throne. I kept calling him Caleb Thorne. I get everyone's name mixed up, and they know that. Hell, I called him Brendan for 2 years, I think, or something like that. But Caleb Thorne and Throne, rather. See, I just said it again. Caleb Thorne and also Juan. So it's a three-way ladder match. That should be very interesting. I'm wondering who they're going to carry out on a stretcher on that. I don't know. But and I don't know the finish to any of these matches and don't want to, other than the two I'm agenting. Because I want to go to enjoy the show, So, and I might pick up one more match. I don't know, but I just like doing what I can do, helping what I can. And so I'm gonna do the two dark matches the best I know, and have fun with it, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Well, I gotta say, just as somebody who's known you for the last couple of years, the happiest you have seen in the entire time I've known you has been since you started doing this.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're out there and active and doing something in wrestling because it seems like you're really enjoying it.
Well, my brother brought that to everyone's attention back in last June. They had a birthday party for me, and sometimes you have a hard time getting out sometimes and have a hard time doing something. But during that time of COVID and have to stay in, I looked at that couch over there and I said, man, there's nothing happening on that damn couch or in this chair because you're watching TV, you're listening to podcasts, you're reading and doing whatever, And I was like, fuck it. Once we can get back out there, I said, man, I'm gonna try to get back out there, And that's all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do my best every day, Jeremy. Some days are better than others, like we all have, you know what I'm saying? Yep. But I appreciate you noticing that and also mentioning it to me because that means a lot to me. It has helped me. It has. I've met some really cool people, and I'm glad to get to go back to some shows again. I'm getting to see some of the guys I hadn't seen for years in wrestling at some of these. We got Bluegrass Con too. I'm gonna start promoting that just so you know. After February 12th, I talked to Earl at Time Warp, and we got some big names coming for that. Also, just so you know, I will be at WrestleCade this year. Time Warp and FTC are sponsoring me. So we got a big table. I'll tell you who's going to be. You're not going to believe who we're bringing in, or they're bringing in, rather, in addition to me at our table. We got a nice booth set up. We'll have a nice booth set up this year at WrestleCade.
Okay.
And I think this year will be 5 years that I've been down there, so that's just about right, you know. It's only like a 4.5 hour drive, so it's not like real far away, because I don't like traveling too far anymore, you know, and that's my preference for now. But looking forward to doing that too. But yeah, I'm looking forward right now. Like I said, got out last week on a Sunday, and the next time will be got a couple of classes at camp coming up this week, and then I'll be out there February 12th at the Boyd County Community Center, you know, and also finally feel like we're winding down this podcast. I'm just now getting my voice back in my head. That week off kicked my ass, but again, what a professional job Sparks did and you did, and the way it came together. I appreciate it, because I'm just going to say this, Jeremy. See you at the matches, wrestling fans.
All right, everybody. For myself, Professor Jeremy Vilmur, the Latex Johnson, and Arn Anderson's favorite enhancement talent, Double B, Bobby Blaze. Bye-bye, everybody.